So, let's dive into a really fascinating cosmic debate, one that's all about the nature of evil itself. It almost feels like something straight out of Goethe's Faust. And get this, the story doesn't start on Earth, but way, way up in the heavens.
What kicks this whole thing off is this absolutely terrifying event happening down on Earth, a witch's Sabbath on Bald Mountain. And as this dark ritual is going down, a group of divine and maybe not so divine figures are watching, and they have some very, very different opinions on what it all means.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll listen in on that heavenly debate. Then we'll get the view from the throne and hear from the devil's advocate. After that, we'll turn to the silent subject at the heart of it all. And finally, we'll see how this cosmic argument plays out in a creative studio right here on Earth.
Okay, so our cosmic drama really has four main players. You've got the Lord, who's the ultimate authority. Then there's Raphael, his angelic reporter on the scene. You've also got Mephistopheles, a cynical spirit with a, let's say, a unique take. And finally, there's Chernobog, the dark god everyone's talking about, who actually never says a single word.
So it all begins on Bald Mountain. The black god, Chernobog, is conducting what's described as a symphony of terror. I mean, he's gathering up wretched souls for this unholy ritual. And this horrifying spectacle is exactly what gets the conversation started up in the celestial spheres.
Let's dive into the first two perspectives, which could not be more different. We'll start at the very top, with the highest authority and his trusted messenger. First up, the Lord. He's the one who starts the discussion. But here's the thing. He isn't surprised, and he's definitely not panicked by any of this. He's watching from a position of absolute control, like a divine judge who already knows how it's all going to end. And this quote, it perfectly captures his whole perspective. For the Lord, evil isn't some rival power. It's more like a tool. He sees all of Chernobog's chaos as a permitted test. It's like he's saying, sure, Chernobog can cause a mess. He can work the field, but the final harvest, the souls of humanity, that's mine. Evil is temporary, and it's all part of a much bigger divine plan.
Now contrast that calm, all-knowing view with the report you get from the archangel Raphael. As heaven's eyes on the ground, Raphael sees pure, unfiltered horror. He's describing a fallen land, a symphony of terror, and this ancient, corrupting force born from pure chaos. From his perspective, there's no grand plan in sight, just a terrible, profane tragedy. But this is where it gets really interesting, because a third voice just cuts right in. And it's not Raphael's grief, and it's not the Lord's judgment. It's this cynical, almost amused argument for why all this chaos is actually a good thing.
Enter Mephistopheles. He's not here to cheer for evil exactly, he's here to justify it with this cold, pragmatic logic. He looks at the witch's Sabbath not as a tragedy to be sad about, but as a necessary and frankly pretty entertaining part of the whole cosmic system.
He basically breaks his argument down into 3 points. First, you need the darkness so people can appreciate the light. Makes sense, right? Second, it's a test of will that actually makes the faithful stronger. But third, and this is the wild part, he thinks it's just good entertainment, a lively fray, a perfect disarray. It's a disturbingly compelling defense, you have to admit.
Okay, so after hearing these 3 really powerful arguments from the Lord, Raphael, and Mephistopheles, we've got to turn to the figure at the absolute center of this whole debate, the one who's been completely silent this whole time.
And this brings us right to the core question, doesn't it? Who, or maybe what, is the real Chernobog? See, his nature isn't defined by anything he says or does. It's defined entirely by how these powerful observers choose to see him.
This table just illustrates the conflict perfectly. It's brilliant. To the Lord, Chernobog is just a tool, an unwitting pawn in a larger game. To Raphael, he's the horrifying black god of chaos, and to Mephistopheles, he's just an excellent manager putting on a very useful show. It's the same being, seen through 3 completely different realities.
Now here's the thing. This whole debate, how to interpret profound evil, it isn't just some abstract theological exercise. It actually gets at a really fundamental human challenge that plays out every single time we try to tell stories about it. So let's bring this heavenly argument down to earth for a minute and see how it gets mirrored in a creative studio.
All of a sudden, the problem shifts from theology to theater. The question isn't, what is evil for anymore? Now it's, how do you show it? How do you take this deep, terrifying concept and turn it into something an audience is actually going to want to watch?
And the parallels are crystal clear. The celestial beings, they're concerned with things like cosmic order and redemption. The studio creatives, Well, they're thinking about meaning, sure, but they're also thinking about spectacle and, of course, the box office. It's pretty much the same debate, just with very different stakes.
And in the studio, you find three figures who basically echo our celestial debaters. You've got the poet, who, a lot like Raphael, sees the deep allegorical horror of it all. You have the actor, or the jester, who, like Mephistopheles, just wants a thrilling show for the crowd. And then there's the director, who, kind of like the Lord, has to manage all these conflicting views to create one final successful product.
And the director's solution is just so practical. They'll do it all. They'll show the profound mythos that the poet is asking for, but they're also going to deliver the thrilling spectacle that the jester demands. It's a compromise, right? One driven by the very real need for both art and commerce.
So here's the crucial point. Whether you're a divine being or a film director, representing evil forces you to make a choice. Are you trying to teach a deep moral lesson, or are you just trying to create thrilling entertainment? Or, as the director seems to suggest, is it possible to somehow do both? And that leaves us with one final question that's really at the heart of both of these debates. Is the spectacle of evil, whether it's on a mountaintop or on a movie screen, ultimately a profound test for the soul, or is it maybe just a really good show? Something to think about.